Let's take a look at the URSA Mini 4.6K Pro, the 2017 flagship camera model from Blackmagic design. The biggest thing to discuss here though is not the quality of the footage, but what this camera offers that the previous model doesn't. We already know that graded footage from this camera can compete with anything from the C300 Mark II right up to the Hireacamera. The URSA Mini Pro features the same sensor and processing as the URSA Mini 4.6K, capable of recording up to 12-bit lossless RAW 4.6K video, every flavor of ProRes and Avid's DNx HR codec. Users can also still load up to 6 custom LUTs into the camera, giving a preview of a custom-baked look, which will give you an idea of what the footage is likely to look like once it's graded. However, you will need an external recorder to capture the footage with the LUT selected, same as before. So what's new? The first thing to notice is the buttons that feature along the camera body's left side. Blackmagic Design has ditched its minimalistic look for a more traditional approach. Many of the function buttons are duplicated in different places. For example, there are at least 4 different ways to hit record. To turn the camera on, you now have a physical switch which is positioned along the top left ridge of the camera body, and the startup time seems to have been improved, up to about 6 seconds, which is faster than the regular URSA Mini cameras, by about 2 to 3 seconds, which may be critical in the field. The URSA Mini Pro also now sports a smaller 4-inch touchscreen, 1 inch smaller than before but equally as responsive, and its extremely simple menu layout remains the same. In use, many will find the smaller size a little more practical, and on its outward facing side, there's now an additional status LCD monitor with adjustable brightness providing critical shooting and timecode information. I found this visible in all lighting conditions, and it wasn't intrusive in low light. There are also some useful control features on the outer side of the door, such as audio level control and playback. Thankfully, Blackmagic was sensible enough to put a lock switch on this panel, as it's in direct contact with your face when recording in the shoulder-mounted configuration. On opening the door, you find further audio controls, a focus push button, peaking, program monitor, and the menu. But excitingly, the company has also now included support for 2 UHS 2 SD card slots, offering a great affordable alternative to CFast 2 for recording lower resolution material. Testing it out with the fastest SD cards widely available, I was able to record around 6 to 10 seconds of 3:1 RAW HD video at 120 frames per second with the sensor windowed, which is usable for quick sequences. I also managed to get up to 44 seconds of ProRes HQ 4K DCI while recording to SD, which for some productions may actually be a usable functionality. I even managed to get a few seconds of RAW 4K video, but the camera cuts out immediately when it drops frames, so I wouldn't recommend this as a usable function. Having dual SD slots, along with dual CFast 2 and dual SSD support as an optional extra in the future, make this camera amazingly flexible for a wide variety of productions. Unfortunately, due to the fact that there's a physical switch between each media, you can't actually record proxies to the SD cards while recording RAW to CFast. Perhaps it's asking too much, but it seems like a missed open goal from Blackmagic not to include such a huge feature. However, external recorders can offer this functionality. Moving around towards the front of the camera is where the real benefits are to be found. The URSA Mini now features 3 built-in ND filters and a clear filter, all with infrared compensation to tackle the magenta cast issues that hampered the URSA Mini 4.6K. The mechanically operated NDs offer 2, 4 and 6 stops of light filtering, and they seem to be of a high quality, avoiding color casting, although in testing I did notice some very digital looking flare effects when facing large light sources and working outdoors in the sun. There's also a slight quirk in the design which may cause some confusion when trying to communicate which ND you want to use to an AC, for example, as the filters are numbered 1 to 4 instead of clear, 2, 4 and 6. But there is a key on the side of the camera to serve as a reminder. Full access to your exposure triangle is now offered by our additional controls, giving you access to ISO, shutter, white balance and the iris, which can be operated by a wheel that sits just above those switches. Operating them with the small joystick style switches can be a little fiddly though, and they're not quite as responsive as you might expect. But the very fact that you now have access to these controls in such a functional position is a significant improvement over the previous URSA Mini camera models. Another big feature is the ability to change the mounts yourself. Blackmagic has gone to great lengths to make this camera attractive to a broad variety of users, and as a result, the user interchangeable mounts can be used to make the camera compatible with Canon EF, Nikon F, B4 and PL mounted lenses. Improvements have also been made to the camera's audio capabilities, and it now uses an upgraded preamp system for its AES XLR inputs. The general flexibility and audio setup of this camera makes it well suited for live broadcast studio work, as well as ENG reporter style and documentary work. I also noticed that Bluetooth has been built into the camera, but at launch it wasn't enabled. However, this does suggest that the camera should be able to be operated remotely using this functionality. Having used a lot of Canon gear, from DSLRs to XC and Cine models, I found the URSA Mini Pro really easy to pick up and get shooting with. The addition of function buttons, 2 of which can be customized, sprinkled virtually everywhere a button could sensibly be placed, has definitely made this camera a lot more usable. And if any of the buttons don't suit you, there's always the touchscreen, with one of the most user-friendly camera menus to be found anywhere. While it comes as an optional extra, the 1080p Viewfinder from Blackmagic is a critically useful bit of kit if you plan on using this camera shoulder mounted, although it may be redundant for left eye shooters. The Viewfinder offers focus assist and peaking controls too, and provides a crisp, clear image. The excitement for the URSA Mini Pro was palpable when it was announced, but that may be due to the fact that this is finally the camera that Blackmagic should have released when they first announced the URSA Mini 4.6K back in 2015. If you're looking for a flexible camera to significantly raise your production value without having to buy or rent a camera that costs at least twice the price of the URSA Mini Pro, this is definitely worth looking at.